Allowing the Tension of Creation, posted on March 20th, 2012. It's easy to confuse the tension required for creation with the stress of resistance. The former is a natural movement, whereas the latter is a resistance to this natural movement. Physical reality is created through the ebb and flow of life energy, which means a constant movement of energy is required to keep the physical reality happening. When you look at your heart's movement, you can get an idea of how energy is kept in circulation. The heart relaxes so that it becomes open to accumulate blood within it, and then it contracts, a strict tension, to push the blood through the arteries. Without this cycle of relaxation and tension, it cannot keep life going, because it cannot keep energy in movement. Life space as a whole is like a heart. It's constantly relaxing and contracting to keep generating the movement of physical life. If it only stayed relaxed, there would be no movement. And if it only stayed contracted, there would again be no movement. There would be stagnation. Since your body-mind is also a life space, and is thus a creative force, it is also subject to the same natural movement of tension and relaxation to keep creating realities. We have no problem with the relaxation bit of this creation cycle, but we get very resistant to the tension or contraction bit of the creation cycle. As soon as tension is felt, we think there's something wrong and we try to push it away. That's why the pointer of staying as relaxed awareness means to be totally allowing of what arises, which includes relaxation and tension of the creation cycle. Relaxed awareness does not mean that you try to avoid the natural tension that arises in the body as part of the creation cycle. It's just a pointer to remove your resistance to this natural tension. The problem is that we unconsciously resist this tension, and our resistance creates our suffering. And it also creates stagnation, because we are preventing the harmonious cycle of creation, which requires the state of tension and relaxation happening in a sync. The creation cycle. You will notice that as soon as a desire, confusion, question, or intention arises, there is a tension in your body-mind. And this is natural because this tension is what accumulates the energy required for the manifestation of this desire or solution. Some of us try to resist this natural tension, and this resistance is what actually does the harm because it creates a conflict in the body towards releasing this tension. If you don't release this tension, it will relax on its own automatically, just like a heart contracts and relaxes automatically. The tension accumulates the energy, and the relaxation expends the energy into creation. This cycle may be required several times before a certain reality can manifest, depending on the reality. Some realities require less energy creation cycles, some require more. A lot of us try to avoid this natural tension required for creation. This movement of avoiding the natural tension is what creates unnatural resistance in our being. What we call as fear in many cases is purely just the tension of creation, and we try to resist this fear out of our fear of it. That's why the pointer of don't fear fear is of essence. Challenge and solution is like a natural cycle of life. One can't avoid it. What is required is to be fully allowing of this natural movement instead of resisting it. In the post, Wholeness in Physical Life, I've mentioned how high and low are the natural cycles in the body-mind, and inner wholeness is about staying fully allowing of these cycles instead of trying to cling to the high all the time. The high cycle is the natural relaxation, whereas the low cycle is the natural tension, and both these cycles are needed for creation. The only problem is with the resistance that gets accumulated in our being over the years, what I call the momentum of negativity, due to our unconscious opposition to this natural movement of creation. The act of sex is an act of creation, in that it is required for the creation of new life forms. You will notice the nature of sex is that there is tension and then the relaxation or release. The tension is what creates the attraction or pull towards the actual act of sex, and then the release allows the creation to happen. This is how any movement of creation happens. One can't have creation without the initial tension needed to accumulate energy. This tension is what allows for the pleasure of orgasm. In life situations, this tension is the desire, and the orgasm is the manifestation or creation of this desire. So in that sense, whole of life is just an act of sex. We enjoy the tension and release involved in a sexual act, but are resistant to the same movement happening in other parts of our reality. Like when a problem or challenge arises and needs a solution, it's just an act of creation. The problem creates the tension, which accumulates the energy for the solution. If you allow the tension, it culminates into release and thus brings forth the solution. A resistance-free life. When you become open in your being to allow the tension and relaxation cycle of creation, you become resistance-free towards life. A lot of misguided spirituality gets people to focus on some state of being blissed out permanently and gets them seeking endlessly for this state, which inherently is unnatural because it defies the principle of creation. It's like saying that you want an infinite orgasm, which is just fantasy. Creation always requires energy movement through the cycle of tension and relaxation. True wholeness is not a constant blissed out state, but a state of resistance-free being, which means there is no resistance towards allowing the natural movement of creation in you, the high and low cycles, or the tension and relaxation cycles. When a problem or challenge arises, or when a question arises in you, just allow the tension created by it to fully happen. Don't resist this tension in any way. If you stay in this place of total allowing, the tension will ebb away into a natural relaxation, and this cycle, when it happens a few times, will bring forth the solution to your problem. The time required can vary and depend on the number of cycles needed to generate enough energy for the solution to manifest. If you resist this tension, it just delays your solution or creates a disharmony in the flow of energy. If you do not have a lot of accumulated resistance in your body-mind, this cycle of creation through natural tension and relaxation doesn't disturb your being in any way. It just keeps happening in a smooth manner. When one has a lot of accumulated resistance, there is a constant disturbance to these natural cycles, which not only creates health problems, because your cells need solution healing all the time, but also creates stagnation in the external reality because of a lack of harmonious energy movement required for creation and manifestation. You can read the post, Releasing Suppressed Energy, for some insights on how to let go of the past accumulated resistance in our being.